Hello everyone and welcome back to Relevant TV. Now I'm sure we all have the burning question, what can I do to be successful? Well, that will be answered for you today. Jordan Peterson makes a return as he explains to us his 5 principles for modern day success. But before we get into that, may you guys so kindly leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this and so much more. Your guys' support really is greatly appreciated. Anyway, let's help you with your road to success. Number 1, IQ. If you go into a job and you're not smart enough for it, it will be extremely miserable for you. That is why it is important that there are differences in intelligence per job. So how do you figure out if you're in over your head?
What's over your head? Well, that's a tricky thing to figure out. I mean, you have to figure that out with intelligence, you have to figure it out with conscientiousness, you have to figure it out with creativity, you have to figure it out with stress tolerance, with agreeableness, because you want to go into a cooperative environment and not a competitive one if you're agreeable.
Jordan believes that you need to find a group of occupation that with your intelligence would see you in the higher reaches of that particular field.
You don't want to be the stupidest guy in the room. It's a bloody rough place to be. And you probably don't want to be the smartest guy in the room either, because what that probably means is you should be in a different room, right? You should look at a place where if you're right at the top, you've mastered it. It's time to go somewhere where you're a little lower so that you've got something to climb.
Jordan speaks about how there is a hierarchy of jobs and professions. Those hierarchies are classed in a group depending on an IQ range. And obviously the higher the IQ, the more complex and the more competence that job requires. The more complex jobs are found higher in the hierarchy.
If you want to be the best at what you're doing, bar none, then having an IQ of above 145 is a necessity, and maybe you're pushing 160 in some situations, and maybe that's making you one person in 10,000 or even one person in 100,000. And then,
so for example, the jobs that are in the upper levels of the hierarchy will be jobs like engineering, chemist, executive manager, attorney, etc. And not only does it require a high IQ, Jordan also stresses that it requires you to be stress resistant. If you truly want to be good at it, that is exactly what you need, as well as conscientiousness, but more on that later.
Everything's a race, roughly speaking, and the faster you are, the more likely you are to be at the forefront of the pack, and intelligence in large part is speed. That's not all of it is. So if you're moving towards something difficult rapidly, the faster people are going to get.
Intelligence is to some degree also speed. That's why smart people are at the top of dominance hierarchies. They get there first. Doing something that is difficult relatively quickly is very much a highly desired trait to have. Of course, that is without compromising the quality and integrity of the work you do.
What you're starting to see is that as you move down the hierarchy, the jobs get simpler, they're more likely to be assigned by other people, or they're repetitive. Because what IQ predicts to some degree is how rapidly you can learn something, but once you've learned it, it doesn't predict necessarily how well you do at it.
Jordan says people with lower IQs are suited to more repetitive jobs. So while Jordan didn't have the answer for how one could increase their IQ, he did explain that we could stop our IQ from decreasing the older we get. And it's simple, physical exercise. Number 2, stress resistance.
And with neuroticism, you probably want to keep the stress level of your job relatively low, because those are all places that you can break down. And most people have at least one significant weakness in their intelligence personality makeup, and you got to be careful not to place yourself in a position where that's going to be a fatal flaw. But what you really want to do, as far as
we've alluded to this already, being stress resistant is super important. As Jordan explains, an inability of dealing with stress can prove highly detrimental to your chances of success.
Levels of stress tolerance, because that can knock you out too, because there's going to be sharp fluctuations in your career, generally speaking, at the higher levels of a structure, and you have to make very complicated decisions.
The key is to minimize, or at the very least reduce the amount of weakness that could break you, to always ensure that you are in with a chance of success. Number 3, being conscientious.
Almost all jobs that are at the top of complex dominance hierarchies require very high intelligence and insane levels of conscientiousness.
The quality of wishing to do one's work or duty well and thoroughly. So if you're not hyper-conscientious, then realistically you wouldn't want a job where you have to work, say, 70 hours a week, for example. You're just not tuned to do that. And in higher end and really technical jobs, precise jobs being conscientious is crucial. There are also 2 aspects of conscientiousness: orderliness and industriousness. What Jordan touches on when it comes to industriousness is really important, as it is the better predictor of success. And this ties in nicely with the next principle. Number 4, have a valued goal.
you can work on micro habits with regards to your conscientiousness. And I think the best micro habits, this is partly to do with this future authoring program processes, I think the best thing you can do with regards to your conscientiousness is to set up some aims for yourself, goals.
Setting goals will help you do a situational analysis of your life. To establish a goal, you should break it down into micro processes, and that in turn creates a very own reward system, because achieving those goals' micro processes means you are continually working towards your ultimate end goal.
Better have a valued goal, because otherwise you can't get any positive motivation working out. And so the more valuable the goal, in principle, the more the micro processes associated with that goal start to take on a positive charge. And so what that means is, well, you get up in the morning and you're excited about the day, you're ready to go.
So basically specify your long-term ideal and specify where you don't want to be, so that you're scared to fail and more excited about succeeding. That's the reason you will do something, because it's worth it. Number 5, build a strong character. Jordan says that the best men he knows are dangerous. It does sound weird, but what he says truly makes sense.
To behave, you're just a domesticated house cat or a lap dog. You have to push
We
beyond.
should not always be sheep, but rather say no. Do not be an obedient citizen, he says. Don't leave yourself room for your conscience to be violated.
If you're a persona, then you're an obedient citizen. But the problem with being an obedient citizen is that if the society tells you to march the Jews off to the death camp, for example, and you're obedient, then that's what you'll do.
Jordan makes an example with Harry Potter. He says that Harry cannot stand up against evil unless it is in him. He also believes that the world is better with the possibility of evil than a world without that possibility. And this is where the statement at the start of this principle makes sense. He says, a man is better when he's a dangerous man who's being good, than he who would if he was just a good man who wasn't capable of being dangerous.
The big guy, you can tell he knows how to use it, and you can tell he used it.
Yeah.
But as far as I can tell, he's a good person. And that's all of that capacity for mayhem is part of what makes him a good person. And people know that.
Of course, some people may have more capacity for chaos or evil than others, but the fact remains that anyone can be said to be evil. God cannot exist without evil, or at least the understanding of evil. Well guys, those were Jordan Peterson's 5 principles for modern day success. We hope they will help you in your pursuit of success. Now before we wrap up today's video, we want to say thank you to everyone watching. We hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Guys, this has been Relevant TV. We hope to see you next time. Until then, goodbye.